to the Barstewards Inquiry podcast. My name is Catherine Fry. Joining me as always are Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk and John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot. Once again, this podcast is in association with systembet.co.uk. Lee has got a fantastic offer, a Christmas offer, which I will let him talk about in a minute. We're going to run you through the Boxing Day cards, quick look at the Welsh National. First of all, we're going to have a look at the answers to the questions that we posed on last week's show. But before we do that, Lee, do you want to give a shout out to your Christmas offer first?
Sure, yeah. Anybody that wants to sign up for free over the Christmas period, go to systembet.co.uk, scroll down the page and go to the free sign up bit at the bottom. And I will give you all my bets from Boxing Day right up until and including New Year's Day, all free of charge, no obligation, no card details taken. I won't sell your data to porn sites or anything like that.
That's what
and yeah, so go for it, and then you can see if you like what I'm about. So there you
Excellent. That's a very decent Christmas offer, Lee, I think. We're just going to take a quick look at the answers to our questions that we set last week. First of all, I'm going to ask John and Lee for their answers. So we asked people to nominate their ride of the year, the worst ride of the year, the biggest non-jigger of the year, and the biggest shithouse in racing. John, I know that these were written by you. It's got you all over it. So I'm going to go to you first. What are your answers to this?
Thank you, Catherine. I'll start with non-jigger of the year, I think. This might be a little bit controversial, which obviously you wouldn't have been expecting. But Aramon in the Irish Champion Hurdle.
Okay.
Which, in my opinion, given half a ride, it could mainly have won this, because it's now rated 163. But in the interest of possibly preserving a mark for the Fez, where it ran off 149, it was given what I consider to be a little bit of a quiet one. And then
no, I don't believe that at all, John.
and then in the absolute height of comedy, of course, at the Fez, it bumped into one, which was from its own yard. I really enjoyed the county hurdle. Ireland had 6 of the first 7 in it, so I did have a little look back and say what they'd been monkeying about at prior to running at the Fez. But yeah, that was me non-jigger.
Excellent.
Then we'll go on to the biggest shit out. Well,
yep.
It's probably the biggest operation in Ireland, so I mean, we might as well chuck in, now listen, dear Aidan O'Brien. Because basically, he has now ruined the Epsom Derby.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean ruined it. He's got it sus now, you say. He runs the Derby like a peloton. He's got 2 on the front, 2 in the middle, and he plays 2 sweepers at the back. Wings of Eagle, 1 run after, stuffed in the Irish Derby. He's winning this race with cab horses now.
Yeah.
Certain time this year, you know what I mean? Unless he sends it novice hurdling, it's not going to win another race. You know? It's stuffed Morgul at Epsom, and, you know, I mean, Morgul's 6 wickets better than it. If you put yourself in a situation where you've got a fancied runner in the Derby, what do you tell your jockey to do now? Does he chase potentially insane pacemakers on the front end to avoid them getting away like certain time? Does he sit midfield and possibly give the 2 midfield sitters a drag to catch the pacemakers? Because if he goes too soon, the sweepers are going to get him, as Wings of Eagle did with the good Gosden horse of Oppenheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Whose name I forget. But you get the gist.
Yeah.
You know, this derby is ruined at the minute, not just because it's running on a Saturday instead of a Wednesday. It is ruined because unless you're running 2 or 3 yourself, you can't beat this. He's going to win this every year.
Yeah. Yeah, understand that, John. Yeah.
The worst ride. Well, I couldn't split the 4 dickheads that rode against Gay Ath at York, in all honesty. I thought it was the worst planning I've ever seen from trainers in my life. They must have all just talked about the weather and whether Terry's chocolate factory was ever going to reopen at York. About to leg the jockeys up. They'd seen what happened at Sandown, you know, unless they were just sat there staring into space. It was absolutely ridiculous, you know. It wasn't a race, it was a lap of honour, and it was their fault. You saw what happened afterwards if Gareth gets taken on.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, it's the most overblown the arse I've seen in a few years, you know. I mean, one dimension as hell. Any of those owners that had something against it at York, a trainer with a bit of foresight could have told them to buy anything and they could have supplemented it and got this Gareth beat. He only needed something that could have gone to 6 furlongs.
Yeah.
But, you know, utter stupidity, which rails at the top end in racing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Come on, John. Give me a bit of good news. Give me ride of the year.
On the positive note, I'm going to give ride of the year, and there's a little bit of pocket talk involved here. I'm going to give it to Thick Dave because, in all fairness, his ride on Count Dorsey at Haydock, I almost heard a band strike up in my head 2.5 furlongs out. It was that good. To actually take a pole 2.5 out when 3 lengths off the lead in the sprint there was absolutely inspired because the horse doesn't want to get there too soon. And in all honesty, you don't want Dave getting there too soon. So for that reason, and that reason alone, I'm giving Dave the gong for that.
Okay, that's good. Dave will be delighted. He's on your Christmas card list.
Yeah.
Okay. Lee, come on, let's have your list.
Okay, I'll keep it quite brief. John makes a great point with the Derby. Absolutely spot on there from John. That won't get talked about in the racing media, but that's spot on. Okay, I'll start with the biggest shithouse. Neil MacArthur, the CEO of the Gambling Commission, who whilst trying to safeguard people from pawning their lives away on the fruit machines. Yeah, he's also threatening to take down basically every avenue of skill betting with nonsensical, ridiculously low betting deposits, which is a threat to everyone's way of life in horse racing, from the trainers, because the levy, no one can bet. There's no levy. That's it. It's finished. Even to the Saturday punter that likes a few quid on. So Neil MacArthur, if you ever listen to this or it ever gets out, you are the biggest shithouse this year. The biggest non-jigger for me is tied between De Real Deal of the kitchen fitting sort in Ireland. Amazing this. 2 wins on the flat. It's gone from 45 to 78. 3 wins over hurdles. It's gone from 84 to wait for it, drum roll, 141. 141. Beat that then. Beat that. So that's £57 in 3 runs. Brilliant, Roden. Class. Absolute class, mate. And I raise a glass to you. And tied with that for me is Bushy Park of the Philip Kirby Mafia. 83 to 120 in 4 runs over hurdles. They've done well there. £37 in hand, lads. Thank you very much. You know, it's
beautiful.
Yeah. So there's a tie. I'm going to give it a tie between those. The worst ride would be Franny Norton, only pocket speaking, because I always think there's always bad rides in big races. It's too competitive. But Franny Norton for getting Leopardo beat at Wolverhampton. This is a tip in itself, because I can tell you now that Catherine actually told me the winner at 36ers. And I'd had fortunes on Leopardo, and Catherine's won the race, like I say, at 36ers, and Franny managed to get this beat. I can promise you that this horse will be in the hundreds next year as a middle distance 3-year-old. You'll look back and think, how has he got that beat? But he did. That's the way. And so, yeah, Franny Norton, you cost me absolutely fortunes. Anyway, the best ride for me is he's again an unsung chap, Charlie Todd, first man at Wincanton. I'll challenge anyone to see a better recovery with so little time to basically try and get back to win the race. The horse slithered on landing after the last. He was headed. He went probably a length and a half down after being 4 clear. And Charlie Todd got him back up near the line to win by a neck. And that was just stunning. If that would have been, say, on a Saturday race on ITV with Ed Chamberlain, Matt Chapman, they'd have been talking about this for...
Well, they'd have been stirring the gravy over that one for a while. Yeah. Absolutely.
So Charlie Todd, take a bow, absolute different gear. So that's my fault.
Fabulous. Before I move on to just a few of the answers, I'll just very quickly give you mine. Ride of the year, Rachel Blackmore on Honeysuckle at Cheltenham. Top of the hill on the turn. She just completely outrode Paul Townend, in my opinion. And I wish that she hadn't, because I was actually on Benny Didier. But I had to take my hat off to her for a fantastic ride. Worst ride of the year, again at the festival, our old friend Decky on Time Hill. In my opinion, that horse could have won the Albert Bartlett. Biggest non-jigger, got to go for, so I know that we all shared a collective giggle over this one. Mick Pastor at Kempton last month.
Absolutely, yeah.
Genuinely hysterical. And the biggest shithouse, it's got to be Mr. Henderson is the biggest shithouse of the year, in my opinion, for just, all the Altior bollocks. And then this latest thing of Champ's not ready to go to the Savile Chase. Obviously, he wouldn't be able to go now anyway, but yeah, imagine this in a normal year. Champ's not able to go to the Savile Chase because he's not ready. We're at the end of December and he's not ready. What? And then the next thing he's saying is, well, there aren't many other options for Champ, so might have to go over hurdles. Like, it's just, I don't know, too much night nurse, clearly. So yes, they are mine. We've had a few responses on the Facebook page. Some I can read, some I can't. Adam Webb, Ride of the Year, Holly Doyle on Dame Elliott at Newmarket. Yeah, worst ride of the year, everyone bar Emmett McNamara and Tom Marquand in the Derby. Biggest non-jigger of the year, maybe not the biggest non-jigger, but No Ordinary Joe at Ascot last week sticks in the mind. Biggest shithouse, NJ Henderson for Altior Gate number 3. He's also sort of gone on a bit.
He gets to keep the trophy, doesn't he?
Yeah. Also mentioned for Rafe, Beckett and Mark Johnson with their outburst at the BHA when it wasn't necessary. Overachievers, Sheila Lewis and Alan King on the flat. Underachievers, Ollie Murphy in terms of the last couple of months rather than earlier in the year and bagging a grade 1. And dare I suggest Aidan O'Brien with regards victories at the highest level by his usual standards. I'd argue it was far from a vintage year. Your friend Tom Riding makes an interesting case for Ride of the Year. I can't really read that out. He says he also backed a Gosden stroke Haviland thing that night that made all at 9-4 that pissed all over an Elliott stroke Spencer odds on poke. About 6 of us on course at Dunstall Park that night, and I think it was snowing too. Had he had a few when he wrote that, do you think?
Probably. Yeah. He's a drunk darts player from down south. Always drunk.
And we've got a question put to us, actually. Adam, sorry we didn't get to this last week, but probably more appropriate this week, seeing as obviously we're 2 days before Christmas. A more light-hearted question. If you got each person for a Secret Santa, what would you buy them? I know. All right. If I was Secret Santa to you guys, Lee, you'd get a bottle of gin. A good bottle of gin, obviously.
Thank you.
I knew that you put out your best gins the other day.
Yes.
And I know John is a chronic insomniac, so I'd buy him like a quarter of weed, some Rizzlers, and some tobacco. Hopefully, it might help him sleep.
Fantastic.
Yeah. What I'd really want is a no limit Bet365 account. That's my dream, you know. So if you guys can fix that, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll ask for you. Believe we've got one more that we're going to read out from your friend Lorne.
Yeah, Lorne Malvo on Twitter. You know, good guy on Twitter. And he says, with the exception of yourselves, biggest shithouse must go to any number of podcasts or those producing social media racing content. In the main, these are excruciating to watch as they rely on banter and passion for the sport, as if these somehow compensate for the abject ignorance of the sport. Add to this, anyone who refers to a trainer by their first name, John, Aidan, Willie, etc. Having met them only once, most trainers would not give you the steam off their piss, he says. And you know what? Absolutely spot on there, Lorne Malver.
Yeah, Lorne.
Yeah.
You got to give that to me, spot on. Yeah.
There certainly is no reason to be so deferential to them, is there? Their actions don't encourage it. I'll just chip in here as well with the gifts, because I did give these a great deal of thought, obviously. Now, for Lee, the best thing I could give him for Christmas would be a win over the Ginger Hitler at golf next year. Lee and myself have been mugged by him bringing 7 handicappers along to play off 24, when you can actually taste a baboon down from the trees and they're only given 22. So it's high time for a turnaround on that.
Yeah.
And I was struggling for a gift for yourself, Catherine, until earlier this week, and I had a little trip to Northallerton, and I discovered Elsinore herring in mustard sauce, which happens to be one of the best products I have sampled in a long time.
Okay.
And if that spitting old bastard at Newhouse Farm can get a few packets of Werther's Originals sent for advertising them, despite not having a good tooth in his head, I can have a few jars of this for giving it a plug on it tonight.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, John. Yeah, thanks. That sounds sounds lovely. Yeah. Onward. Let's go to Kempton, Boxing Day, sadly behind closed doors. Let's start with the big one, the King George. Lee, your thoughts on the King George? Is it a betting medium for you or a watching brief?
I actually think Clan des Obeaux, if you get 2-1 a bet, is actually value. I mean, it couldn't beat the Soup Monster at ADOC. I mean, what the Soup Monster got into it with them. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, I mean, that is just a sight to behold round there. I mean, I was actually there when it won its first one at Betfair Chase, and it was just brutal. I mean, it's like one of those where, like a Roberto Duran in boxing, where it just keeps punching and it gets hit, but it keeps punching. And if you beat that round there over 3 miles on heavy or soft or heavy, you're doing very well. And the thing, I thought Clan ran a really good race there. And the last two, I mean, it thrashed Surname in this race last year. Surname won an absolute egg and spoon race at Wetherby. In fact, even John was one of the few that said Surname was a good thing at Wetherby that day, because he couldn't. It was like £25 well in. John, you remember you saying it?
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, they were never going to get him at it because there weren't.
No. Whereas this will be an absolute, because you know, I think the ground will be sort of like definitely on the soft side.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So Clan des Obeaux, I think, will expose all Surname's flaws, because it's just a beast, really. So yeah, I can see a 3-time King George and 2-1 value.
Absolutely, and I would love to see him do it. I really would. Do you think that, given his tactics and how tough he is, really, do you think Frodon is a little bit overpriced at 25-1?
I just don't see this being to his strength, to be honest. I mean, I can see the argument of the price, but it won't be for me now.
Okay, John, the King George, has it tickled your fancy?
Only briefly. My fancy was only tickled for a moment or two. 2 years ago, there was quite an emotional moment in this race for Lee and myself. we were sat in the stands at Riverside Park in Middlesbrough, and the Ginger Hitler had an enormous each-way bet on waiting patiently.
Oh, the unseat.
Yeah, we could scarcely contain right. And thinking back to then, I don't think this horse has done an awful lot wrong at trips that it's been campaigned at, and how it's been ridden. It was rated 170 at the time. I don't think we've got enough evidence to see it's gone completely backwards yet.
Okay, yep.
I think at 25 to 1, I don't think this thing will travel up and give you an opportunity to get out about far out there. I think it could be running all over a few of these, and there'll be quite a lot of people looking to take a bit of insurance out in running it well far out. I think that's going to be my play. I'm going to have a small bet at 25 plus.
Okay.
Jump ship about 10s, I think.
And what do you guys think of Mr. Shithouse of the Year 2020 putting Santini in here? Do you think it's madness? I mean, he did say that Santini hated Kempton before, didn't he?
I personally think I mean, that was the biggest. I mean, if you watch Santini at Aintree last time, I mean, he's always had this sort of like lazy, temperamental streak, but that was the biggest down tools. You know, I think I've ever seen. I mean, if you can't beat Lakeview Lad, you know, on a running, I mean, that tells you what the horse is really up to at this moment in time. I couldn't have that on my mind.
No.
He's like Frank Bruno in equine farm, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. When Tim Witherspoon laid a few on him late on,
I mean, Henderson said he hated Kempton.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I mean, Henderson just says the first thing that comes into his head, you know. I mean, you could have asked him that question, and he could have said jam sandwiches.
Yeah, but nobody would have gone, what, Nicky? They'd have gone, all right, okay, jam sandwiches, cool, yeah.
And just said it's heavy ground, you know.
Heavy ground, yeah. That's,
And the Christmas hurdle, God, wouldn't you just love to see Silver Streak win this? It would be fantastic. Epatante, reigning champion hurdler in this price of 4 to 11. She a good thing, do you think, guys?
Well, it's the old. I mean, in grade one company, I mean, do mares need the £7? I'm not so sure. Especially over hurdles, over fences, maybe you could argue because you've got a bit more strength factor when it comes to jumping fences. But £7 allowance for hurdles, not so sure. And that kind of makes it a bit unfair for Silver Streak, doesn't it? Giving it 7.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not the greatest lineup in the world, is it?
No, far from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a betting race for me. Elsewhere on the Kempton card, anything really standing out to you, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't checked the prices at the moment, but when they first went up, 12.40 Kempton, third time lucky at 13 to 8.
Oh yeah, we backed this Cheltenham, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, how on earth is that 13.08? I mean, basically, the front running gas pit that is the old course over 2 miles at Cheltenham. I think just and the pace that the winner went, it wasn't a slow gallop, but they gave it so much rope that it was an error of judgment from the.
And yet it stood out, didn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, but honestly, I think this should be odds on. So I mean, if you can get on, like in the next 2 days and take the 13:08, 6-4, 11:08, you're doing very well, because you'll leave me the scraps on Boxing Day when it's probably about 10 to 11, and I'm gonna, and I'd rather eat another turkey sandwich. But yeah, it's a third time lucky for me in the 12:40 Kempton. I thought was a absolute banker there.
Absolutely wants deep loving, doesn't it?
Yes. And just a mention, I know all three of us are not very keen on the Tizard yard, but I mean, it seems like Tizard listened to Robbie Power with the big breakaway, because Robbie Power suggested to him, after winning in a 3-mile slog at Cheltenham, to drop him back to 19 furlongs at Exeter next time, when basically he got outspeeded. Naturally, he would get outspeeded by a decent animal, really, of Evan Williams. It didn't suit. The step back up to 3 on the big breakaway, I think, can show more. Is he much value? I'm not saying he's value, but don't write that horse off yet, because I think he's a special talent.
I think he's done really well, that horse, because when you look at him, I mean, there's a case for saying he still looks a bit on the leg. I mean,
absolutely.
Still looks a bit unfurnished in a way, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll even say it's best this year, to be honest. I think he needs to be careful with it this year.
Yeah. I mean, Kempton might even be too quick for it. I know it sounds stupid, because it's 3 miles soft, but if you don't get in a rhythm at Kempton, you kind of in trouble. But anyway, he's an interesting project, and I wouldn't write him off yet. And I certainly think that he'll be a better horse than the Skelton horse that's favourite, Shamblu.
Yeah,
he'll end up better, but it's just whether it's on the day, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Let us take a trip across the sea, of course, metaphorically, to Leopardstown on what is St. Stephen's Day for them. Good card, I think. Anything standing out to you in Ireland, Lee?
A couple of bankers, really, and
okay, awesome.
I think if I was sort of, if you've got the family around or whatever, I mean that's saying a lot in these times. Getting the family around, you'd be lucky to have have anyone around. But I would say, if you fancy like a short price treble on Boxing Day, the third time lucky that I've just mentioned, Kempton, and there's 2 in Ireland that I particularly like. Zanahiyr in the 105 at Leopardstown. That's the Knight Frank Juvenile Hurdle. It's a worthy 7-2 favourite for the Triumph. It ran at a time off the clock when it won last time out. It beat a good horse of Willie's, Saint Sam, that I actually liked. I watched it in France. I thought this will be useful. But this horse just absolutely destroyed it in a time 6 seconds faster than the 40 grand handicap hurdle later on the card. I mean, this is the real deal. So yeah, it's short of 4 to 6, and I'm not saying but it's nice to put in a short price treble with third time lucky. And the other one was at Limerick in the Faugheen Chase, where I thought Asterion Phalanges was a banker around the 10 to 11 price, because Pencil Full of Lead, which I would think is a worthy rival. How's that going to be suited by a 3 furlong drop-in trip? The trainer's already said, this horse wants 3 miles, 2 mile 3 at Limerick. It's a quick old track. Even on heavy, you need a bit of pace. Get up there, get in a rhythm, and I don't see him beating Asterion Phalange over that distance. So 7 to 1 plus, I believe you can get the treble. That's third time lucky Zanahiyr and Asterion Phalange. I thought that's just a bit of fun. You can just stick that on. Watch it on the telly, and hopefully, I thought it's a really good solid treble. So
that certainly buys a lot of Elsinore herring in mustard sauce, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So that'd be my play. Yeah.
Literally, whack it on, have another turkey sandwich, have another mince pie.
Yes.
And I quite fancy one at Leopardstown, actually. No surprise to the to the colours. It's just very, very interesting, I think. Around the 12-1 mark at the moment. In the handicap chase, the 250, Top Moon for Baby Joseph. First time tongue tie on. Has a far lower chase mark than a hurdle mark. And at the moment, the price seems to be quite attractive. So well, that's what I might have a little look at on Boxing Day. And I know that you guys have taken a look at the Wetherby card. And John, you fancy one at Wetherby, don't you?
Just 1 second. Just find the right place. I mean, yes. In the 128, it's like gas-bowled dogs, isn't it?
I know, yeah.
Time to Get Up was a big eye catcher last time. Such a big eye catcher, even the stewards had a look. Now, to my mind, it got a very studious ride from the jockey, because if he'd lapsed in concentration for 1 minute, he'd probably have won.
What do you want to do that for?
Exactly. Way too good for these office mark if he's wanted to do it, and I have no reason to think it won't. They were kind of blaming the sharpness of the track last time. This long grinding hellhole of a straight should suit it down to the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me Wetherby one.
That's Wetherby. Anything for you at Wetherby, Lee?
It's part of the we do a patent, as we know, and this one would make the patent, I think, at the price as Windsor Avenue in the Roland Merrick in the 205. I think you can ignore the last run. I would, to be honest, I mean, it's their choice. I wouldn't have run there.
You had no chance, did it? We were across the board with that.
Not really. I'd never ever felt that was the right placing for this kind of horse. I think 3 miles Wetherby, he's up to 3 miles. This is what it wants. There's no excuses. I think you see a career best from this horse. And Brian obviously has spoke about this horse in the media. He said, this is the real deal, this horse. And I really, if this doesn't produce, I mean, it's double figures in price at the moment, as far as I can see. That's amazing value. Windsor Avenue, I think, is going to run big, and I'll be shocked if this horse, if it runs its race, it doesn't go close. I'll be shocked.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you guys did say before the Cheltenham race, like, what the hell's he doing here? Yeah. And it was Wetherby, and it was actually this very race that you nominated him for. So yeah, it's good when a plan comes together. It's quite a trappy little affair, isn't it? There's sort of Springtown Lake. We quite fancied him for the race over the Grand Sefton.
Yeah, I liked him in that.
Yeah. Wears Pieces for the first time, and obviously Tom O'Brien on board. Thank Christ. Snow Leopardess. She really was pretty tough at Haydock, wasn't she? Like, you know, came with a wet sail there in the end. She's 9-2, sort of pretty much heading the market along with Canelo. Do you think that's fair? Do you think? I mean, she's carrying 10-13. I think Ryan Manier's riding exceptionally since he came back. Do you think Windsor Avenue could put it up to her?
Yeah, I definitely do. The way Brian's always spoke about Windsor Avenue, you know, as in better than Definitely Red. So, you know, this horse will be better than Definitely Red. And that's what he's always maintained. And it's just, sometimes I just question the odds placing. And it'll not be Brian, it'll be the owner. I mean, obviously, Phil pays big money. He's entitled to place his horses where he wants, but Cheltenham was not the right race.
Yeah. Okay. Before we move on to a quick look at the Welsh National, anybody else fancy anything anywhere else on Boxing Day?
I did think there was a fairly interesting race at Kempton, the 115. It's a little bit ground dependent, this, and how much rain we get, because if the ground's good to soft, might not be, obviously. I was going to give Son of Camas another chance after the wind up, second run back.
Yes.
Popeye said it was soft enough, but I have a contingency plan. If it does tinkle down until Boxing Day, it has crossed my mind how the hell Mick Windmill has managed to miss heavy ground with Hold the Note. His bag Jeremy, he's been crying out for some proper slop. Hasn't had it. If this turned nasty, I am going to wallop this thing, despite it being trained by Mick Windmill. Is it still in Dick Earn's old yard?
I have no idea, is he?
Yeah, I mean, that's where he went. Is he still there, like?
What, West Ilsley? I think so, yeah.
I mean, it's like putting Cannon and Ball in charge of international trade deals, isn't it?
They may as well be, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he is at West Ilsley, yeah. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
You know, I mean, what a shame, but there you go.
Okay. Thanks for that one, John. The Welsh National. Now, I know that, John, it surprises me, a sort of national hunt handicap, like right in the arse of winter, and you fancy a couple in this. Like, what's that about? That's not normally your sort of modus operandi.
No, it isn't really. I mean, the thing is, this secretly brave. You can't sort of leave it out of calculations. I mean, it's got form on Crapstore Heavy. It's £8 welling, and you'd probably bet at least one of your kidneys or it'll stay.
Okay.
So I mean, well, you'd say 41 a bit, if you were going to have a sporting plunge on something at 33 to 1, you might decide to have this as a saver.
Okay.
Talking of sporting plunges at 33 to 1, does anybody remember Didero Vallis, who was very heavily backed for the Sefton Chase?
Yeah.
For the Winsome one. Well, to me, having watched that race back, I think they've just got the trip wrong with this horse. I think he looked slow there. I think he's just a steer who copes really well with slop. And I think his lack of pace found him out at the jumps last time. He's got no weight on his back in this. I'd love to say a sure £10 claimer up, but probably not. 9-12 in the long handicap, so he carries 10, doesn't he? 33 to 1 is well worth a couple of shekels just to find out what the score was at Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. I fancy a couple in this, actually. One quite obvious one, obviously Ramsey Detay around the 12 to 1 mark. We know he absolutely loves this sort of revolting ground. We know he'll stay. And a horse that I think probably needs about 55 miles. I think he's a pretty decent price at 20 to 1. I mean, he's not the fastest horse in training, but he is going to pop up somewhere. And he does seem to get gambled on for big Cheltenham handicaps. Is Big River for Lucinda Russell. Fancy an each way couple of quid on him at 20 to 1. So, Lee, have you looked at the Welsh National yet?
Yeah, interesting shouts from you too there. Quite enjoyed your reasoning on both. So yeah, nice prices. Yes, I did like one. Dominateur of Oliver Sherwood's. I was a fan of this horse last year because I kept backing him and tipping him, and obviously he was very impressive at this track, which I thought was. I always think course form's good here. This horse, won his last 2 years, beating Sir John. Obviously, that ran well in the Tommy Whittle. Could have won for me, but never mind. But then followed up again, beating Clondor Ancroft 137. Comes off 141 here, and if you watch the Sandown race, where he was running against Pim, which obviously he's got no right to beat. Neither has he got no right to beat if the cap fits. Basically, this horse was not off a single yard. I mean, if you just watch the video when they turn in, he's literally about 5 lengths down to Pim and If the Cat Fits, turning in.
Mm-hmm.
And Brendan Powell makes absolutely no effort turning in.
No.
And I just want, yeah. And you just think, well, I mean, it's a lovely prep. It's beautiful. I mean, if you notice that, and I think that's what you've got to look for when you're betting national hunt racing, and I think 14-1 that's available, or roughly Dominateur. I think he's the right age. He's 7 now. He stays well. He's got track form. That's the one for me.
I think we've knocked the TriCast off there with a 5-horse combination.
Yes, do it. Let's do a TriCast, and then we'll see you in 2022.
Yeah. We'll have a Christmas special TriCast on the Welsh National. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Any other shouts before we go?
Oh, hang on. We've got to highlight what we're doing on patent wise. So it is the Barstewards patent. So right. My Barstewards patent would be in the Roland Merrick. It would be Brian's horse, Windsor Avenue.
Okay, John.
Again, probably our miserable cold Wetherby. Time to get up in the 128.
I knew it was going to be Wetherby with you two. Is it like, it's typical Northern that you've got to stick to a Northern track, and all Northerners love Wetherby, don't they?
We do. We love Wetherby, and we love gravy.
And
Gravy either.
Yeah.
Look at this. I'm going for a West Country track, Wincanton. Duc de Beauchesne in the 245, the Pertemps qualifier. Love those races. And talking of those, the Pertemps qualifier that's run next week over in Leopardstown. Always look to that for the nod for the final in March.
Cries to the back, isn't it? That one?
Yeah, it's if we want to be looking at places 4 to 6 really, so they're the most sort of crucial. Well, that's it. I'm off to the supermarket now. Wish me luck. I'm off to go and
project. Yeah,
off to wrestle and fight over the last piece of broccoli and a bag of chestnuts. So all that remains is thanks for listening to us so far this year. I'm sure we're going to squeeze in one more before the end of the year. Have a very Merry Christmas. I know it's going to be not the same for a lot of people, but we do wish you all the best. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.